Have you ever noticed how a seed grows in complete silence? Not once does it broadcast its intentions to become a mighty oak tree. It simply does what it's meant to do, drawing strength from the depths of the earth, pushing through layers of soil and emerging into the light when it's ready, not a moment before. This profound truth about silence and action has been weighing heavily on my heart lately, and I feel compelled to share something that might change the way you think about your dreams, your goals, and most importantly, the way you approach them. You see, we live in a world obsessed with announcements. Social media has turned us into declaration addicts. We announce our workouts before we've lifted a single weight. We share our business plans before we've served a single customer. We proclaim our life changes before we've changed a single habit. And in doing so, we're unknowingly sabotaging our own success. Let me share a story that changed my perspective forever. There was this aspiring writer who lived in a small apartment, working a job she didn't particularly love. Every morning, she would wake up 2 hours earlier than necessary, not to post about her writing journey on social media, not to tell her colleagues about her novel in progress, but to simply write, page after page, day after day. And her family asked about her tired eyes. Her friends wondered why she wasn't as available for morning coffee dates anymore, but she never once mentioned her book. She understood something crucial, that her energy needed to flow into her work, not into talk. 3 years later, she had not just one, but 3 completed manuscripts. The power of her silence had protected her creative space from the well-meaning but often draining opinions, suggestions, and questions of others. This isn't just about writing books. This principle applies to every single dream you hold in your heart. When you tell people about your plans, something interesting happens in your brain. It experiences what psychologists call premature satisfaction. You get a hit of dopamine just from sharing your intentions. And that satisfaction can actually decrease your motivation to do the real work. Think about it. How many times have you shared an exciting goal with friends or family, received their praise and encouragement, and then felt a little less driven to actually accomplish it? That's because you've already tasted the reward. You've already experienced the social acknowledgement that comes with achievement without having achieved anything yet. But there's something even more subtle at play here. And when you keep your plans to yourself, you're not just avoiding premature satisfaction. You're protecting your dream in its most vulnerable state. Every great achievement begins as a delicate seed of possibility. In those early stages, it needs protection, just like a seedling needs the shelter of soil before it's strong enough to face the elements. If you shared with everyone that you plan to run a marathon, you'd immediately face a barrage of opinions. Some would tell you it's too hard, others would share horror stories about injuries, and still others would overwhelm you with advice about training programs and nutrition plans. All of this input, while well-intentioned, can cloud your own inner wisdom and diminish your natural enthusiasm. I want you to think about the dreams you're currently carrying in your heart, the ones you've been talking about, planning to do, meaning to start. How many of them have you shared with others? How many times have you announced your intentions before taking significant action? And most importantly, how many of those announced plans have actually come to fruition? The energy you use to talk about your plans is the same energy you could be using to execute them. Every time you share your intentions, you're dispersing some of that precious initial enthusiasm that could have fueled your actual progress. It's like having a limited amount of water and choosing to sprinkle it everywhere instead of directing it to the roots of your dreams where it's needed most. But this isn't just about conserving energy. It's about maintaining the purity of your vision. When you keep your plans to yourself, you're able to stay true to your own inner guidance. You're not constantly adjusting your course based on others' reactions or opinions. You're not diluting your dream to make it more palatable to others or defending its validity to skeptics. Think about the most significant achievements throughout history. The most groundbreaking innovations, the most profound works of art, the most revolutionary changes, they all began in silence. Their creators didn't seek validation or permission. They simply worked, quietly and consistently, until their results spoke louder than any announcement ever could. This might feel counterintuitive in our sharing-focused world. We're taught to put it out there, to manifest by declaring our intentions to the universe. But what if the universe responds better to quiet dedication than to loud declarations? What if the true power of manifestation lies not in announcing our dreams, but in silently nurturing? I've seen this principle work countless times. There was a man who decided to transform his health. Instead of posting before pictures or telling everyone about his new diet and exercise plan, he simply started making different choices. He quietly replaced his morning pastry with a protein-rich breakfast. He took the stairs instead of the elevator. He went for walks during his lunch break. No announcements, no social media updates, no progress pictures, just consistent. 6 months later, people couldn't help but notice a change in him. His results spoke for themselves and the questions came naturally. "What have you been doing?" they asked. And his response was simple: "I just decided to make some." The power of his transformation was amplified by the fact that no one had watched him struggle, falter, and persist. They simply saw the end result, a testament to the power of quiet action. This approach requires tremendous self-discipline. It means resisting the urge to share your excitement, to seek validation, to get others involved in your journey. It means being comfortable with working in silence, trusting that your results will speak louder than any words ever could. It means finding satisfaction in the work itself rather than in others' reactions to it. But here's where it gets really interesting. This principle of quiet action doesn't just protect your dreams from external interference. It actually changes the way you relate to your own goals. When you're not constantly talking about what you're going to do, you're forced to focus on what you're actually doing. The energy that would have gone into explaining, defending, and discussing your plans gets redirected into action. You might be sitting there thinking, but isn't sharing our goals a way to hold ourselves accountable? This is one of the most common misconceptions about achievement. We've been led to believe that announcing our intentions creates accountability, that telling others about our plans somehow makes us more likely to follow through. But research tells a different story. The truth is, real accountability comes from within. It comes from the quiet promises you make to yourself and keep, not from the loud declarations you make. External accountability is like training wheels. It might help you get started, but true balance comes from finding your own center of gravity. Let's talk about what happens when you keep your plans private. First, you develop a different kind of relationship with your goals. Instead of seeking external validation, you learn to trust your own inner compass. You become more attuned to your authentic motivations, not the ones you think will impress others or gain their approval. Think about the last time you achieved something significant without announcing it in advance. Remember how pure that accomplishment felt? There was no pressure to live up to others' expectations, no need to explain delays or setbacks, no obligation to share your process before you were ready. The achievement was yours alone, untainted by external opinions or judgments. This private approach to achievement also protects you from one of the biggest dream killers out there, premature criticism. When you share your plans too early, you expose your tender seedling of an idea to harsh winds before it's strong enough to withstand them. Even well-meaning feedback can derail you at this stage, making you question your direction before you've had a chance to fully explore it. Consider that innovation, every paradigm-shifting discovery, every revolutionary change began as an idea that most people would have dismissed as impossible or impractical. If these pioneers had shared their plans too early, if they had sought consensus before they had proof of concept, how many world-changing ideas would have died in the planning stage? But there's an even deeper reason for keeping your plans private. When you work in silence, you develop an unshakable inner strength. You learn to trust your own judgment, to persist through doubts without needing external reassurance, to stay committed to your vision even when no one else can see it yet. This kind of self-reliance is invaluable, not just for achieving your current goal, but for every future endeavor. Let me share something powerful with you. Every time you resist the urge to announce your plans, you're building what I call your silence muscle. Just like physical muscles grow stronger through resistance training, your ability to work quietly toward your goals grows stronger every time you choose privacy over premature disclosure. Think about the energy you use when you talk about your plans. That energy isn't just about the words you speak. It's emotional energy, creative energy, spiritual energy. When you keep your plans private, all of that energy gets redirected into actual. It's like the difference between a river that's been dammed up versus one that flows freely. The contained power is much more effective at driving change. This doesn't mean you need to become a hermit or never share anything about your life. Rather, it's about timing. Share your journey after you've made significant progress, when your actions can speak louder than your words ever could. Let your results do the talking. There's immense power in being able to say, I did this instead of I'm going to do this. The beauty of this approach is that it shifts your focus from external validation to internal satisfaction. When you're not constantly seeking others' approval or feedback, you become more attuned to your own measures of progress. You develop a stronger sense of self-trust and a more authentic relationship with your goals. Consider how different your approach to goals would be if you treated them like precious seeds that needed protection during their early stages of growth. How would your actions change if you knew that no one would know about your plans until they saw your results? How much more focused and determined would you be if all your energy was directed toward progress rather than presentation? This shift in approach requires a fundamental change in how we think about achievement. In our social, media-driven world, we've been conditioned to believe that everything needs to be shared, documented, and validated by others. But the most meaningful transformations often happen in privacy, in those quiet moments when we're truly honest with ourselves about what we want and what we're willing to do to achieve it. The power of privacy extends beyond personal goals. In professional settings, this principle can be equally transformative. How many times have you seen projects fail because they were announced too early before all the pieces were in place? How often have great ideas been diluted by too many opinions too early in the process? The most effective leaders often work behind the scenes, putting all the elements in place before making any announcements. When you work in silence, you also protect yourself from one of the most insidious dream killers, other people's limited thinking. Even those who love you most can unintentionally impose their own fears, limitations, and past experiences onto your dream. By keeping your plans private, you ensure that your vision remains pure, untainted by others' doubts or restrictions. This isn't about being secretive or distrustful. It's about understanding that every dream goes through a delicate incubation period where it needs protection and nurturing. Just as you wouldn't dig up a seed every day to check its progress. You don't need to expose your dreams to public scrutiny before they're ready to withstand it. There's a deeper spiritual truth at work here that we need to explore. When you keep your plans private, you create a sacred space around your dreams. This space becomes a sanctuary where your vision can take root and grow, protected from the chaos and noise of the outside world. In this quiet space, you can hear your own inner wisdom more clearly, connect more deeply with your true purpose, and align your actions with your authentic self. Let me share something profound about energy and intention. Every time you speak about your plans, you release a bit of the creative tension that could have fueled their accomplishment. It's like opening a pressure cooker before the meal is fully cooked. You release the built-up energy that's essential for transformation. When you hold that energy inside, containing it within the vessel of your focused intention, it becomes a powerful force for manifestation. Think about the most meaningful changes you've experienced in your life. The deepest transformations often happen in silence, don't they? Whether it's healing from a difficult experience, developing a new understanding of yourself, or making a significant life change. The most profound growth usually occurs in those quiet, private moments when you're truly honest with yourself. This principle of quiet action also protects you from one of the most subtle forms of self-sabotage, the illusion of progress. When we talk about our plans, we can fool ourselves into thinking we're making progress simply because we're thinking about and discussing our goals. But real progress doesn't happen in conversations. It happens in moments of focused action and the quiet discipline of daily effort. Every word you speak about your future plans carries energy. That energy could either be dispersed through conversation or channeled into actual achievement. When you choose silence, you're not just protecting your dreams from external interference. You're conserving and directing your energy where it matters most. The practice of keeping your plans Private also develops something invaluable: your ability to be self-contained. In a world that constantly pushes us to share, express, and seek validation, the ability to hold your own counsel becomes a superpower. It's about developing this strength to trust your own judgment, to stay committed to your path without needing constant reassurance from others. There's a beautiful paradox here. By keeping your plans private, you actually develop stronger, more authentic relationships. When you finally do share your achievements, they come from a place of genuine accomplishment rather than seeking approval. Your relationships become based on what you've actually done rather than what you say you're going to do. This approach also protects you from the subtle energy drain of explaining and defending your dreams. Every time you share your plans, you open yourself to questions, doubts, and suggestions. Even if you're strong enough to stay committed to your vision, dealing with others' reactions takes energy that could have been invested in actual progress. Let's talk about something that might feel uncomfortable: the fear of being seen as secretive or unsocial. In a world that values constant sharing and transparency, choosing to keep your plans private might feel countercultural. But privacy isn't secrecy. Privacy is the sacred space where transformation happens. It's the cocoon where the caterpillar becomes the butterfly without having to explain or justify its process. Think about how different your approach to goals would be if you adopted this principle fully. Instead of seeking validation through announcements, you'd find validation through results. Instead of gathering opinions, you'd gather experience. Instead of talking about what you're going to do, you'd simply do it. This silence becomes particularly powerful when you're attempting something unprecedented in your life. When you're stepping into unknown territory, other people's opinions and experiences, even when well-meaning, can limit your possibilities. Their past experiences, their fears, their limitations can unconsciously influence your path. But when you work in silence, you remain free to explore all possibilities, to push boundaries, to discover what's truly possible for you. Remember the last time you shared a dream too early, before it was ready? Remember how others' reactions, even positive ones, somehow changed your relationship with that dream? Maybe their enthusiasm made you feel pressured to succeed. Maybe their doubts made you question your capability. Maybe their suggestions pulled you away from your original vision. When you keep your plans private, you protect not just your dream, but your unique relationship with that dream. There's also something profound about the humility of this approach. When you work quietly toward your goals, you develop a different kind of confidence, one that doesn't need constant external validation. This quiet confidence comes from knowing that you're actually doing the work, not just talking about it. It's the difference between someone who constantly talks about their expertise and someone who simply demonstrates it through their actions. Consider the power of surprise in human psychology. When people see unexpected results, rather than hearing about intended actions, their response is entirely different. Instead of offering opinions or advice, they ask questions. Instead of sharing their doubts, they want to learn from your experience. The energy shifts from speculation to appreciation, from advice giving to genuine interest. This principle becomes even more powerful when you're working on something truly innovative or different. The more unique or ambitious your goal, the more important it becomes to protect it during its early stages. Revolutionary ideas often sound impossible until they're accomplished. Groundbreaking visions often seem unrealistic until they're realized. By keeping your plans private, you give yourself the space to prove what's possible rather than having to convince others in advance. But here's something crucial to understand. This isn't about never sharing your dreams or goals. It's about timing. It's about understanding that there's a season for everything. There's a time for quiet work and a time for sharing results. There's a time for solitary focus and a time for collective celebration. The key is knowing which season you're in and honoring its purpose. Think about the ocean for a moment. Its greatest power lies in its depths, not on its surface. The surface might show waves and activity, but the real strength, the true transformative power, exists in the quiet depths below. Your dreams and goals are like this too. Their power grows in the depths of silence, not in the surface level chatter about them. What happens when you keep your plans private is nothing short of magical. You begin to notice a shift in your energy, your focus, and your effectiveness without the constant need to explain, defend, or update others about your progress. You create an uninterrupted channel between your intention and your action. This direct connection becomes a powerful force for manifestation. There's something else that happens when you work in silence. You develop an extraordinary level of mental and emotional self-sufficiency. You learn to be your own cheerleader, your own critic, your own guide. This self-reliance becomes one of your greatest assets, not just for your current goal, but for every future endeavor you undertake. Consider how this principle plays out in nature. A flower doesn't announce its intention to bloom. A caterpillar doesn't send out updates about its transformation. The most profound changes in nature happen in silence, revealed only when they're complete. There's deep wisdom in this natural way of transformation. The practice of keeping your plans private also protects you from one of the most common forms of self-deception, mistaking intention for action. When we talk about our plans, we can easily fall into the trap of feeling like we're making progress simply because we're thinking about and discussing our goals. But real transformation happens in the doing, not in the talking about doing. This silence creates a special kind of space around your dreams, a sacred space where your vision can take root and grow without being contaminated by others' doubts, fears, or limiting beliefs. Even well-meaning advice can sometimes act like weeds in the garden of your dreams, choking out the tender shoots of possibility before they have a chance to grow. When you work quietly toward your goals, you develop what I call a results-first mindset. Instead of seeking validation through announcements and declarations, you seek it through actual achievements. This shift in focus changes everything. Your energy goes directly into progress rather than being dispersed through conversation and explanation. Think about the relationship between potential and actualization. Every dream begins as pure potential, a seed of possibility waiting to be realized. When you keep this potential private, protecting it during its vulnerable early stages, you give it the best chance to develop into something real and tangible. This approach also builds a remarkable kind of inner strength. Each time you resist the urge to share your plans prematurely, you're developing your capacity for focused, independent action. You're building what I call your silence muscle, the ability to work steadily toward your goals without needing external validation or support. There's a profound difference between working for results versus working for recognition. When you keep your plans private, you naturally align yourself with the former. Your focus shifts from how others perceive your intentions to how effectively you're executing. This results-oriented mindset becomes a powerful driver of actual achievement. The beauty of this approach is that it creates space for genuine surprise and delight in your relationships. When people see what you accomplished rather than hearing about what you plan to do, their response is entirely different. Instead of offering opinions or advice, they're inspired. Instead of questioning your methods, they want to learn from your experience. This principle becomes particularly powerful when you're working on something innovative or unconventional. The more unique your goal, the more important it becomes to protect it during its early stages. Revolutionary ideas often sound impossible until they're accomplished. By keeping your plans private, you give yourself the space to prove what's possible rather than having to convince others in advance. Remember, this isn't about becoming secretive or isolated. It's about understanding the proper timing for sharing. It's about recognizing that every achievement has its seasons, a season for quiet growth and a season for sharing the harvest. The key is honoring each season's purpose and not rushing to announce the harvest before the seeds have even sprouted. As you embrace this principle of quiet action, you'll notice something remarkable happening. Your relationship with your goals becomes more intimate, more authentic. Without the pressure of others' expectations or the need to maintain appearances, you're free to pursue your vision in the way that feels most true to you. The power of this approach lies not just in what it achieves, but in what it prevents. It prevents the dissipation of energy through premature sharing. It prevents the dilution of your vision through too many opinions. It prevents the subtle discouragement that can come from well-meaning but limiting advice. In protecting your plans from premature exposure, you protect their potential to fully materialize. Let your actions speak first, and let your words follow only when there's something tangible to share. In doing so, you'll discover that the sweetest victories are often those that come as a complete surprise to others, not because you were secretive, but because you were too busy doing to spend time talking about doing. As we draw deeper into this truth about silence and achievement, let's explore what this means for your life right now, in this moment. Think about the dreams you're carrying in your heart. The ones you've been talking about, the ones you've been planning to start, the ones you've announced but haven't fully committed to yet. What would change if you decided, right here, right now, to pull those dreams back into the sacred space of silence? The power of progress extends far beyond personal achievement. It transforms the very essence of how you show up in the world. When you're not constantly announcing your intentions, something remarkable happens to your presence. You develop what I call a quiet authority, the kind of presence that doesn't need to declare itself because it's evident in your actions, your results, your very being. Consider the difference between potential energy and kinetic energy. When you keep your plans private, you're building up potential energy, the stored power that will eventually translate into action. Every time you resist the urge to share prematurely, you're adding to this reservoir potential. And when you finally release it through focused action, the results can be extraordinary. This principle of quiet action also protects you from one of the most subtle forms of self-sabotage, the dispersal of creative energy through excessive sharing. Think of your creative energy like water in a reservoir. Every time you talk about your plans, you're creating small leaks in that reservoir. Keep it contained, and the pressure builds, creating a force powerful enough to generate real change. There's something profoundly liberating about working in silence, and when you're not constantly updating others on your progress, you're free to experiment, to fail, to adjust your course without explanation or justification. This freedom creates space for authentic growth and genuine innovation. You're no longer bound by others' expectations or limited by their understanding of what's possible. The practice of keeping your plans private also develops a remarkable kind of self-trust each time you achieve something without needing external validation along the way. You strengthen your confidence in your own judgment and capabilities. This self-trust becomes an unshakable foundation for future achievements. Think about the energy dynamics at play when you keep your plans private. Instead of dispersing your energy through conversation and explanation, you channel it directly into action. This focused energy becomes like a laser beam cutting through obstacles and resistance with remarkable efficiency. But here's something crucial to understand about this approach. It's not about never sharing your journey. It's about timing. It's about understanding that there's a right moment to share. And that moment comes after you've built momentum, after you've created something tangible, after you've proven to yourself that you're fully committed to your path. The beauty of this approach is that it creates space for genuine mentorship and collaboration when the time is right. When you share your progress rather than your plans, you attract people who are interested in what you've actually done rather than what you say. These connections tend to be more authentic and more valuable because they're based on demonstrated commitment rather than mere intentions. Consider how this principle might transform your professional life. Instead of announcing every initiative before it's ready, what if you focused on building, creating, and perfecting behind the scenes? The impact of revealing a completed project, a refined skill, or an achieved goal is far more powerful than sharing works in progress. This silent progress creates a different kind of leadership presence. When people see that you consistently deliver results without fanfare, they develop a deeper trust in your capabilities. They learn that when you do speak about something, it's backed by substance and action, not just intention and planning. Let's talk about the relationship between silence and timing. Every achievement has its optimal moment of revelation, the point at which sharing it will have the maximum positive impact. When you work in silence, you develop an intuitive sense of these. You learn to recognize when your work is truly ready to be shared with the world. The practice of quiet action also protects you from one of the most common dreams killers, premature feedback. When you share your plans too early, You often receive feedback based on others' limitations and fears rather than your potential. By keeping your plans private, you give yourself the space to discover what's truly possible for you. Think about the most significant transformations you've witnessed in others. Often, you didn't see the process, you only saw the results. There's immense power in this. When people see only your results, they're more likely to be inspired rather than skeptical. They're more likely to ask, how did you do it? Rather than, are you sure you can do it? This principle becomes even more powerful when you're working on something truly innovative or different. The more unique your vision, the more important it becomes to protect it during its early stages. Revolutionary ideas often sound impossible until they're accomplished. By keeping your plans private, you give yourself the space to prove what's possible rather than having to convince others in advance. The silence of progress also creates space for something invaluable, the development of your own inner guidance system. When you're not constantly seeking external validation or feedback, you become more attuned to your own intuition, your own sense of what's right and true for you. This inner compass becomes increasingly reliable as you practice trusting it. As you embrace this principle of quiet action, you might notice something remarkable happening in your relationships without the pressure of having to report on your progress or justify your methods. Your connections become more authentic. You're free to share from a place of accomplishment, rather than seeking approval for your intentions. Consider the power of surprise in human psychology. When people are surprised by achievement rather than primed to expect it, their response is entirely different. Instead of offering opinions or advice, they're inspired. Instead of questioning your methods, they want to learn from your experience. The energy shifts from speculation to appreciation. This approach also protects you from the subtle energy drain of managing others' expectations. When you announce your plans, you often feel obligated to keep others updated on your progress. This creates an additional layer of mental and emotional work that can distract from the actual task at hand. As we come to the close of our time together, I want to leave you with a challenge. Choose one significant goal, one meaningful dream that you've been carrying in your heart. Instead of sharing it, instead of announcing it, commit to working on it in silence. Give yourself the gift of uninterrupted focus, of private progress, of quiet achievement. Remember, every great achievement begins as a silent commitment. Every meaningful transformation starts with a private decision to change. Every remarkable success story starts with someone who chose to work quietly, consistently, persistently toward their vision. Your dreams deserve the sacred space of silence. They deserve the chance to grow strong before facing the winds of opinion and judgment. They deserve your full, focused energy, undiluted by premature sharing or excessive explanation. The path of quiet achievement is not always easy. It requires strength to resist the urge to share, discipline to maintain focus, and courage to work without the constant reinforcement of others' approval. But the rewards, the deep satisfaction of genuine achievement, the unshakable confidence that comes from self-reliant success, the pure joy of surprising others with your accomplishments, these make it all worthwhile. Let your next achievement be a surprise to the world. Let your actions speak before your words. Let your results do the talking. In the sacred silence of focused action, you'll discover a power you never knew you had, the power to transform your dreams into reality, one quiet step at a time.